You've probably seen those pictures, right? These absolutely massive solar farms stretching for miles across China's deserts. And it's easy to look at that and think, oh, that's great, they're tackling climate change. But that's only a tiny piece of the story. This isn't just an environmental project. No, this is one of the most ambitious geopolitical plays of our time. And it's all designed to fix China's single biggest weakness.
So it really begs the question, if you're a global superpower, but your entire economy could be brought to its knees by a rival, like overnight, what do you do? Well, Beijing's answer is something that no country has ever even tried to do on this kind of scale.
To really get what's going on, you have to understand something called the Malacca Dilemma. It's basically the name Beijing gave to its own Achilles heel. See, the world's factory runs on imported oil and gas, and almost all of it has to sail through this one super narrow strait. And here's the kicker. That waterway is effectively patrolled by the US Navy and its allies.
And the sheer scale of this vulnerability is just staggering. Nearly 80% of all of China's crude oil has to squeeze through this one little corridor. A blockade here wouldn't just be an inconvenience, it would be an absolute catastrophe. It would grind their economy to a halt in like a matter of weeks.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute, what about coal? And yeah, you're right, China has mountains of it, and they burn through literally half of the world's entire supply. The good news for them is that they mine it all at home. The bad news? Well, it created this crippling, choking pollution that was shortening lives and crushing their healthcare system. It forced them to find another way.
So they pivoted hard into oil and gas, and they quickly became the world's biggest importer of both. But, this just traded one massive problem for another. Suddenly, their whole economy, which is built on these razor-thin margins, was a hostage to crazy price swings every time OPEC made a decision. And all that fuel still had to be shipped through sea lanes controlled by their main strategic rival. For a country with superpower dreams, that's just, well, it's a non-starter.
So Beijing's solution is actually, pretty elegant. It's a simple two-step plan. Step 1, take everything that runs on oil. We're talking cars, buses, trains, the whole shebang, and make it run on electricity. Step 2, generate all that electricity at home using stuff that can't be blockaded by a navy, the sun and the wind.
And the success of step 1? It's already undeniable. A majority of all new cars sold in China are now electric or hybrid. This is the absolute fastest way to cut your addiction to foreign oil, and it makes your entire transportation network immune to that naval blockade we were talking about.
And this goes way, way beyond just cars. We're seeing it with their railways, their city buses, even their heating systems. China is already leaving the United States and Europe in the dust on this, and they're on a clear path to become the most electrified major economy on the planet. Every single light switch they flip is a step towards energy independence.
But of course, electrification only works if you can power the grid from home. And this brings us to step 2, and the scale of what they're doing is it's hard to wrap your head around. Just last year, in 2024, the amount of new renewable energy they added to their grid was enough to power the entire country of Germany for a full year. I mean, just let that sink in.
And look, this isn't even a close race. In 2024, China installed more new renewable power than the rest of the entire world combined. They're just operating on a totally different level because for them, this isn't just about the climate, it's a national security emergency. And the pace is just staggering. I mean, just a few years ago, this was all a plan on paper. Today, clean energy is already getting close to 40% of their electricity. They're on track for a net zero grid by 2055, which would mean they solved their Malacca dilemma and their pollution crisis in one single brilliant move.
Okay, but this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. Because as it turns out, solving their own energy problem was just the beginning. Beijing is playing a much bigger game here. They're not just positioning themselves to be independent, they're positioning themselves to be dominant.
Their goal is to control the entire global supply chain for the green economy, from top to bottom. Chinese companies already dominate the mining and processing of critical stuff like lithium and rare earth minerals. They make most of the world's batteries, solar panels, and wind turbines. And now, they're exporting all of it around the globe. What this is creating is a total 180, a complete reversal of roles. For 100 years, the world has run on oil from America and the Middle East. But in the future, if the West wants to go green, it might have to depend entirely on Chinese supply chains. And that right there is a powerful new kind of leverage.
So this brings us to the American response, which honestly is a tale of two completely different strategies. China's vision is consistent, it's long-term, and it's treated like a top national priority. In the United States, on the other hand, the entire strategy gets torn up and rewritten every 4 to 8 years.
I mean, the slogans tell you everything you need to know, right? One administration is pushing billions in green subsidies to try and compete. The next one comes in chanting drill, baby, drill, and ripping up climate agreements. How is anyone supposed to make a long-term plan in that environment?
This constant policy whiplash is America's real handicap here. It just makes things way too risky. If you're a private company, why would you make a massive, multi-billion-dollar, decade-long investment to build a supply chain when the next administration might just pull the plug on the whole thing?
And this really brings us to the bottom line. China is systematically and methodically erasing its greatest vulnerability. They're on a path where very soon they might not need to import oil at all. So you have to ask yourself, what does that do to the global balance of power? And what happens to all the countries that still do need that oil?
It leaves us with one final and really critical question. For the last 70 years or so, global power flowed from oil wells and the aircraft carriers that protected them. But as the world shifts to a totally new energy system, one built on minerals, batteries, and solar panels, who's really going to be holding the power tomorrow?